Good morning, hockey fans, and welcome back to the Good Old Hockey Podcast. Guess what? The sun is shining nice and blue today, and the Edmonton Oilers lost the Stanley Cup. Galli, how you feeling off that? We'll get into each other's weekend, but just initial reaction, how is the joy flowing through your body at that game yesterday and today? Waking up, how was it?
Well, I love my Calgary Flames, so of course I could not. I'm going for anyone except for the Oilers. If it was any other Canadian team, I think I'd be going for them.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. But I'm happy for Tkachuk and Bennett and even Longberg, former Flames. It's a little bit bitter taste in my mouth seeing all these ex-Calgary Flames raise a cup. And I mean, seriously, if pieces and things went differently, that could be the Calgary Flames in the Stanley Cup final instead of the Oilers. That's a bold take for sure. But yeah, man, I mean, I feel good about it. I'm glad Florida won. I'm glad Tkachuk won. But yeah, man, another year Canadian team does not take the dub in the Stanley Cup final.
Yet again, 30 plus years now, 31. But honestly, super excited.
Yeah. How are you feeling though?
I'm feeling great. I'm $80 richer. And, we got some shit on Instagram the past 2 weeks. It feels like I've just been housed in the comments and just been made fun of. And now look at you guys. You guys are all crying yourself to sleep last night. And I was happy. I went to bed elated, woke up, the sun was shining, birds were chirping, went on Twitter, saw the videos after, which honestly were the best part to me. Like just seeing, obviously you guys know, if you don't know, and can see behind me, I'm a Sharks fan, so I don't really have much to celebrate in the playoffs. So I like to do this thing where I'll pick a team and ride with them and see how it plays out. And, during the season, I'm all Sharks, but when it comes playoff time and it's a little bit dead, I want to watch some exciting hockey, and the playoffs are fun. So it's always fun to root for a team. And last year that team was Florida, and this year this team was Florida. And after last year, losing to the Knights of all people, our number one enemy, was just a straight dagger to the heart. So such a great season last year too. And then obviously Galli and I doing this podcast this year. First off, thanks for everyone for listening this year. It's been amazing. We've had a fun time. It's been a great season. So much drama, it feels like, and so much just ups and downs. And to cap it off like that with Connor McDavid and his head down on the bench, in all honesty, I do feel heartbroken for any team that loses. I understand that feeling to an extent. Never lost in the Stanley Cup final, but those guys played their heart out and they battled back. But in the record books, it's not going to show up. It shows Florida Panthers. So if you guys want to shit on the Panthers for, you almost blew a 3-0 lead, well, guess what? Almost. Anyways, we'll get into more Stanley Cup talk. But first, Galli, how was your weekend?
Weekend was good. Friday was go skateboarding day. I don't skateboard too much, but went skateboarding for a couple hours, and
Nice.
It was a good time. Saturday, shit, dude, what did I do Saturday? I went to Boise Music Festival and saw Jason Derulo.
Nice.
Also saw Dustin Lynch. Was a little late for CeeLo Green, but that was a good time. Besides, it was like 100 degrees out, which was brutal. I mean, I just feel like a lot of concerts in Boise, it's like if they're any time before like even 8 p.m., it's going to be so hot. Like I feel like Boise concerts in the summer need to start like 8, 9 p.m. at earliest, just because how damn hot it is. And it was really hot. I mean, I was sweating my ass off. Pre-game with some tequila, which was interesting too. It was kind of shitty there, but it was funny. I mean, it was cool seeing them, and we went around to some of the local artist stages and saw like a replica of J-Rock, which was pretty funny.
I saw that,
but then Sunday just chilled, played a little bit of tennis with my girlfriend, but it was a pretty good weekend. How about you? It's not going to be as good as this next weekend though.
Yeah. If you guys don't know, I haven't been hearing this a couple weeks. If you've missed out on a couple episodes, guess what? We're going to the draft, baby. This, almost 24 hours from now, we're going to be in the sack, probably getting ready for bed. But by the time you guys listen to this, we're going to be on the road. Well, actually, no, that's not true. By the time you guys listen to this in 24 hours, we'll be on the road. And yeah, it'll be fun this weekend, but we'll get into that towards the end. My weekend last week was pretty fun. Had some friends in town. Went downtown both nights, Friday and Saturday. So it was a little rough. And especially going to Vegas this weekend is just another reset. But you know what? I'm young. We got time, and I'm excited. So it was a good weekend. And then to cap it off on Monday with that win, a little bit richer in the pocket, wallet's a little heavier. You know, it's a lot of fun. So, yeah, let's jump into it. I mean, Game 7, I can't believe we got that far.
Yeah.
You know, after 3-0, we all kind of could see what was coming. But then after Game 4, actually, no, after Game 5 really was when it was started to settle, where it was like, oh, this might happen.
Yeah.
And man, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Okay, I got one. First thing, I think that with this series, and I don't know what player said it, but they were mentioning and saying that, you know, when you get up 3-0 in a series, you kind of get this tunnel vision of the end result, and, you know, the Stanley Cup is right there in front of you. And they're like, we kind of got away from our game a little bit, and they played well as well too. So it was a little tough. And then Game 7, they felt like they were back to where they were. And I feel like that was true. I can kind of see that coming where you're up 3-0 and you're like, I'm ready for this cup. But that was my initial thoughts. What about you?
Dude, my initial thoughts was I'd probably say one of the best series, Stanley Cup final series, and let alone one of the best playoff series I've ever seen. For it to go to 7, but just the momentum swing. I mean, for a team not to do that since the 1940s is pretty damn incredible. To come back from 3-0 in the biggest series of the playoffs, in the biggest, you know, some of the biggest games of your life. It was pretty incredible. And I mean, they fortunately had 2 games in Edmonton out of those games 4 through 6. So I think that helped them big time. I think going back to Edmonton, especially for Game 6, they kind of had the momentum and somewhat of the home ice advantage. But yeah, man, I mean, I was kind of shocked in a way how Edmonton came out Game 7. I'm even more shocked, which we'll get into it, about how some of their best players perform, even though there's been a lot of glazing of McDavid per usual.
Yep.
But to be honest, if he doesn't have those back-to-back 4-point games, I think he's probably would have been my ghost of the series. Not going to give away my ghost of the series yet, but I mean, incredible perseverance by the Panthers, though. I think they were facing some adversity. I mean, being up 3-0 and then getting that tied 3-3, for them to go out and win that Game 7 and play completely different than what they were games 4 through 6. I just feel like they're flat during those 3 games. And I mean, you can't do that against Edmonton. They're going to run all over or skate all over you, especially when they have the best players, some of the best players in the world. I don't think that the Oilers squad was like the strongest this year. And I think that was maybe some issues from their GM, Ken Holland, making some questionable signings for sure. So I'll give that a little bit of leniency to the Oilers. I feel like they could have been a lot stronger, which is also kind of scary as a Flames fan. But yeah, man, I mean, I think it would have been heartbreaking too for Panthers fan base to go to 2 Stanley Cup finals back to back and then lose both of them, especially in Game 7, blowing to 3-0 lead. Like that would have been
to be
brutal.
Icing on the cake.
But I mean, dude, just starting off, obviously I talked a little bit about McDavid and him, you know, having kind of an iffy series outside of those back-to-back 4-point games. But I think he had overall playoff series or overall playoff season. I think he had the best one of the 21st century. I mean, he was the lights out. He carried his team. Even in the games he didn't score a single point in, which is interesting and not like him. He still was playing good, and he was still the most defended player The Panthers just figured out a way to shut him down in game 6
Yeah.
and 7. And I think that was the deciding factor. But pretty incredible. He's 5 points off of Gretzky's point record. In this day and age, with goalies as good as they are, especially, I mean, some of the goalies he played against. I mean, to be fair, the Canucks goalies and Kings goalies not the best. I mean, I feel like if Demko was in, you could have a little bit of argument, but Ottinger was incredible, and Bobrovsky was also an incredible goalie. So those are two goalies that are potentially, I mean, I think Bobrovsky is going to be a Hall of Famer. Ottinger will TBD, but for him to do that in this playoffs, I mean, he's still statistically 4th best playoff season in league history, and also broke the assist records. I think that's biggest reason he got the Conn Smythe. But sorry, I just went on a ramble a little bit. I mean,
what did you think of that
on McDavid and whatnot?
Well, I'll go back and forth with you, but what were your thoughts on him winning that Conn Smythe? Do you think it's deserved? Do you think it's meat writing? What do you think?
So I think it's definitely deserved. I mean, if you're gonna break that assist record from Gretzky, have the 4th best playoff season in league history, and I think that the other 3 ahead of him were in the 80s. I think closest was in 1990 and 91. I think it was Lemieux. I mean, you hands down, you got to give it to him. Just how dominant he was throughout the whole playoffs. I mean, even in this series on ice, watching it, I wouldn't say on the game sheet he was as dominant as he is. I mean, he was, though. He led the series in points. By 4 points, which is like, damn. I mean, pretty incredible. And I mean, it's cool to see. I mean, I know Crosby is a player that he makes any player that's on the ice with him plays better, but McDavid takes that to another level. I mean, you put any player with McDavid and they're going to be probably a point per game player in the regular season and probably playoffs. So it's pretty crazy. The McDavid effect is definitely there, but I think he deserves a Conn Smythe. I thought it was kind of some weird non-classy act by him to not come out and get the Conn Smythe, even though he might get booed. But I mean, that's something I feel like that would fuel him, if he went out there and got booed. Or I mean, I feel like it would have been good for Oilers fans to see him, but it's tough. I don't think he really gives a shit that he won the playoff MVP at all. Neither did any Oilers fans, even though some of them are using it as backup.
Yeah, they're using it against me. So clearly some of them care. I don't know. I think him.
Yeah. What do you think about it, though? Do you think he should deserve it?
Yes. I believe, I think he was the best player in the playoffs all season long. And also the series too. You could have given it to Bob after if they won in 5. But I mean, McDavid was literally, he broke a Gretzky record, and I get it. The league wants to, you have to reward that with something. And it's like, this guy went on a crazy run, really got close to a Gretzky record that we thought was never even touchable. And again, also broke a record that we thought was untouchable. So yes, I do think he deserves it. And for him not coming out, I understand it. It's like, that would be a shitty skate back onto the ice too.
Yeah.
To skate back onto that, and it'd just be tough. And let the Panthers enjoy their moment. He's probably not focused, like you said. He's not focused on the Conn Smythe. He's focused on getting back to where he was this next year. And that kind of brings me up to one of my points: is do you think the Oilers should be scared? Do you think they can come back next year? Or do you think this was their shot and now it's toast for them?
That's a tough question. Going back, just one last point to that last point. I feel like he should have came out, though, just because hockey is a classy sport. I think the Panthers really respected him. I think everyone, I mean, I know Florida fans don't know hockey the best, and we all know that. But I feel like that would have been a class act and show a lot of his sportsmanship and just love for the game if he came out. But for the Oilers, I don't think they necessarily need to be scared. I mean, it's tough to say. There's definitely some holes in their team. And are these players going to repeat the playoffs they did this year? It's up in the air, especially like Bouchard. Like, I don't know if Bouchard's going to have that great of a year. And not only that, I mean, but the thing is like he's on the ice a lot when McDavid is. So, and he's on the power play. I mean, like, Bouchard's good, but I mean, I feel like you shouldn't be too afraid if you're the Oilers, especially if you can somehow get rid of those badge contracts, Darnell Nurse and Jack Campbell. If you can somehow get rid of those contracts and maybe bolster your goaltending, I think the Oilers are going to be dangerous for the next fucking, I don't even like to say it, but 10 years. I mean, McDavid is incredible. We saw him, how good he is in the playoffs. And I feel like a lot of people are kind of writing him off as a regular season player, but this playoffs, he definitely showed, he's legit in the playoffs. Maybe not in the Stanley Cup final, which we'll get into in a little bit.
I think, hold on though. I think with that, I think Florida's also really good defensively. Like putting Alexander Barkov against him, one of the I would say the best two-way center in the league right now. Someone who can play both sides of the ice, and putting him up against McDavid, I shut him down. And also that first line with Gustav Forsling and Aaron Ekblad, I think they did a really good job at keeping McDavid just outside of below the circles. They did not let him get down low. He had a point where he had the puck on his stick with a wide open net, and Brandon Montour just had a great defensive play and saved the series on that one for them. In all honesty, like the net was wide open and he very well could have done his stuff, McDavid, but Montour's stick was right in the right spot and was able to stop McDavid. So I don't know. I think Oilers fans, I don't think you have anything to worry about just yet. The one person I would be worried about though is Leon Draisaitl. I don't know if he's going to come back. I think he's
you
done.
Don't see him coming back?
No, I don't think he's going to re-sign after this next year. I could be wrong. I don't know anything, but
I think he's going to re-sign. I mean, I know he wants a max deal because he's
the thing. They don't have the money.
He deserves it. I mean, I think they could free up some cap room, and shit. If this salary cap keeps going up the way it is, I think they'll figure it out. I mean, I think him and McDavid want to win a cup. I don't really know. I mean, they both are kind of dull personalities, so I don't really know how. Like, I mean, they obviously have some chemistry though, but
they do.
Yeah, man. I mean, I can see him staying, but holy shit, if Draisaitl leaves, that's gonna be interesting. But they're gonna get a haul for him if he ends up wanting to leave. But I mean, with all being said, the Oilers are impressed the hell out of me. I know we were at the beginning of the season, like, are they even going to make the playoffs? And for them to go this far, pretty incredible. For them to have the playoffs they did. I mean, I wasn't really rooting for any team in the playoffs, kind of the Dallas Stars, not really. I was just rooting against the Oilers, and I'm glad they didn't win. But I think that if McDavid showed up in games 1, 6, and 7, which he registered 0 points in 3 out of 7 games this series, which no one's talking about. I know everyone's talking about how good of a playoff season he had, but no one's really talking about that he went pointless in 3 of those games, which, I mean, props to the Panthers defense for shutting down the best player potentially ever in hockey history up to this point. I mean, skill level, we're not talking points or anything, but I mean, he is on another level. And for them to shut him down 3 of those games, incredible. For them to shut down Draisaitl too. He had 3 points all series. And I mean, if McDavid didn't have those back-to-back 4-point games, he'd have 3 points too. I mean, he ended up with 11 points throughout the series. 8 of those points came in 2 games, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Oilers, and this was one of our points we had. I mean, the Oilers needed to show up. Those 2 players in specific to show up. And people were like, oh, it's their best players. No shit. But I mean, we were correct on that. And they did not show up for, I mean, McDavid didn't show up for 3 of those games. / the Panthers shut him down. Draisaitl was nowhere to be seen.
No.
So, I mean, he looked like a different player. I mean, to be honest. So, I mean, that's my take on that. I feel like the Oilers they probably would have won the cup if McDavid showed up in those games and the Panthers didn't shut those players down. But
I agree.
Props to the Panthers. So
No, props to them too. Like, I mean, I know we've been kind of talking about the Oilers and what they've done wrong, but yeah, I mean, I think switching back to the Panthers, I mean, they're such a fun team to watch, and like, I don't know, I understand they're very polarizing teams. Both of these teams are. You either love McDavid or you hate McDavid. You either love Tkachuk or you hate Tkachuk. And I feel like we're both on the hate McDavid side and both on the love Tkachuk side. So obviously that's where our bias falls. But this team, I mean, as a whole, we got some veterans to lift the cup. We got Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Kyle Okposo, which was cool to see. Kyle Okposo playing over 1,000 games played. And probably his last game ever. Yeah.
Bobrovsky too. I mean, he's a veteran. I mean, Ekblad's been in the league for, I think, 10 years.
Yeah.
I think 2014 he was #1 draft. But yeah, I mean, if we're going to segue to the Panthers, holy shit. It is impressive what they did. I mean, that was some crazy adversity to be up 3-0, blow that lead, and then somehow pull out that game 7. I mean, I was shitting my pants as a Flames fan. I was like, this is so fucked. I mean, game 4, I was like, dude, let's go. Like, this is easy. Panthers are going to crush them. And I mean, maybe it was Draisaitl and McDavid not showing up. Maybe it was just Draisaitl. Maybe it was because Corey Perry was on their team. Bad luck charm.
Too. Bad luck charm, yeah.
Who knows? But, I mean, they came out swinging in games 1 through 3. But games, 4 through 6, they were not the same team they were throughout the whole playoffs. And then game 7, they just showed up again, which was like, holy shit. But I'm sure the NHL is stoked that this happened. I feel like some of the front offices in the league are probably a little bit pissed that the Stanley Cup went to the 24th of June. But I mean, congrats to the Panthers. They're probably having such a kick-ass time. I mean, saw Matthew Tkachuk swimming in the ocean with the cup, which made me happy. I mean, seeing Matthew Tkachuk be successful it's a tough pill for me to swallow because I love Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah.
He was my favorite player on the Flames. I mean, still is probably. But to see all the success for the Panthers and all these ex-Flames, it's just like, dude, what if they stayed? What if Gaudreau stayed? What if Tkachuk stayed? I mean, it's so tough, but it's kind of funny to see the Oilers knock the Flames out and all those players left the next offseason just to go to the Panthers and then knock them out when they.
Well, you saw Matthew Tkachuk in that interview. He was like, shout out to all my fans here, there. Shout out to all my fans in Calgary.
Yeah.
I could not let the Oilers win. So it was cool to kind of give him the flowers and stuff like that. I think it was also, I love the Tkachuks as a whole, like Brady, him, and even his dad, just their family as a whole. I don't really know the mom. I know their sister plays like field hockey somewhere in Virginia, but, them as a whole, like, it's just like such a family dynamic. Like Brady literally last year was helping his brother out of the bed, changing his, like, just helping him after the broken sternum Matthew Tkachuk suffered against the Knights. And to see how happy he was for his brother, he's an NHL player and probably wants to win a cup himself, but you can tell that they all love each other so damn much. And obviously families love each other. We know that, but not everyone has that. And I don't know, it's just really, really awesome to see that family come together. And obviously Keith Tkachuk, who plays a lot like both of them, they clearly have the same DNA as their father. And to see him lift the cup too, I saw some people being like, oh, I don't know, you can't raise that because he played. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. He created Matthew Tkachuk with his own balls. He has every right to lift that cup. Brady, on the other hand, shouldn't, and I don't think he did, which is good.
Dude, that would be ridiculous if Brady did. But dude, I love the Tkachuk family for sure.
Yeah. Also, Luongo getting to raise the cup, that was awesome to see. He never won a cup as a player. I don't think. I hope it's not wrong.
Never did as a player. So this is his first time winning the cup at all. I'm sure he was stoked on that. But I mean, back to the Tkachuk thing. I think they're such a sick hockey family. I know there's the Hughes are another sick family of hockey players. I mean, currently those two come to my mind at least. I'm sure there's some other ones I'm forgetting about. I mean, shit, dude. I mean, I don't know how people hate on Matthew Tkachuk. I know and him and Brady kind of are pests and piss
Yeah.
people off and are dirty, but they're hockey players. It's a sport of hockey. That's why people love to watch it. They're flashy. They love to fight. Matthew Tkachuk is fucking he's so sick, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, it's a bitter feeling for me. Flames basically gave the Panthers this cup because of trades.
Yeah.
Breaks my heart.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it.
I wonder what Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar are feeling like. They're probably like, holy shit, these are all of our teammates.
Dude, Bill Zito is a smart man. He's a ballsy man. You know, he's only smart if they win the cup, and they won the cup. So from here on out, he's a legend for what he did with that front office in Florida. With everything like the Bobrovsky contract, people were, you know, hating on the Panthers for that, which at the time, it probably didn't seem like a good contract. The Tkachuk trade, everyone was like, "Oh, Florida's fleeced. They just got screwed out of this deal." And then, you know, we see how that's turned out. No offense, but it's just incredible to watch and to see him in the post-game speech and watching him cry. Like, you know, he's obviously a very stressed man based off of his job. You know, and to get the win, like he gambled and he won. And, you know, I only hope that I have that luck this weekend in Vegas. I'm going to channel my Bill Zito, and I hope that me rooting for him this year will benefit me. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess let's kind of wrap up this Stanley Cup talk. Any final thoughts before we move into some series MVPs?
Yeah, man. I mean, Florida, the state of Florida is hockey central right now. I feel like a lot of people did not see that coming. I know the Tampa Bay Lightning have been pretty dominant in their franchise history. But for the Panthers, first Stanley Cup to them, third cup to the Florida teams in the past 5 years, which is pretty incredible. I mean, in 2020s, 3 out of the 4 cup winners have been in Florida. So, I mean, hats off to them. Hats off to Florida. It's pretty sick what Bill Zito did, though, for sure. But let's get into the series MVP. We don't want to talk about this. We could talk about this forever.
Yeah, we could. And we might be this whole offseason might just be firing back at it. But yeah, honestly. Oh wait, hold on. Before we do that, the cup videos today, I want to talk about a little bit that we saw the morning after. I saw some videos of Sasha Barkov raising this dude like drove by in a boat on this pier that they're at, and he was like, "Good job, boys!" And Sasha went to lift it up. He just looked dead. That man, I know those guys have not slept. They're probably sleeping right now, but they probably have not slept all night. Them dumping the beer onto the fans outside the Elbow Room in Florida.
Yeah,
it was super fun to see. Just, you know, cup celebrations, because I know both you and I, I'm sure, have dreamt as a kid to be partying with the Stanley Cup, winning the Stanley Cup, playing Game 7 of the Stanley Cup, and these guys got to live it. And it's always really cool to see, no matter who wins. Like, even last year with the Knights, like, yeah, it sucked for me as a Sharks fan, but at the end of the day, it's still cool to see these guys accomplish, you know, something they've been working for their whole lives. So
yeah, 100%. With that, besides the Oilers.
Yep, besides the Oilers, don't care about them. Oh boy,
yeah, who's your series MVP though?
I'm giving my series MVP to the bottom 6 guys of the Florida Panthers. All 6 of them. Well, I guess there's some extra with some scratches, but those bottom 6 guys, they stepped up when needed. Just, I guess maybe not bottom 6, but just those players as a whole that may not be labeled as superstars.
Yeah.
I think we see this a lot in the Stanley Cup, where these players need to shine the brightest. And I think that's what did Edmonton wrong. You know, obviously they did have some production down there from those lines, but it was nowhere near how Florida played as a team. They played so well as a team. And, you know, Tkachuk didn't have a flashy series by any means. He didn't have a great series, but he and his team around him was able to bail him out for that. So that's my series MVP. Who do you got for your series MVP?
So it's tough for me not to give it to McDavid, just because, I mean, he obviously led by 4 extra points it's tough for me not to give it to Evan Rodriguez. That's my honorable mention. I mean, he had 4 goals, 3 assists. I know he's not labeled as a superstar whatsoever. And was also +6. I mean, he led the Panthers in scoring in the series. Incredible. But honestly, I got to give it to Sergei Bobrovsky, who I have trouble saying his name. But he had a shutout in the Stanley Cup final, which is pretty damn hard to do, especially against the Oilers. Holy shit.
Yeah.
.958 save percentage in game 7 after 3 straight losses, where his game save percentage was horrible, like below 900.
Yeah.
So for him to have that sort of adversity, persevere through it, I mean, lights out. And I think he was the biggest reason why they won those first 3 games too. So hats off to him. I think he honestly won the Panthers a series. And I think it was a total team effort all around. I think there's players chipping in from every line, whether it's forwards and D. But without Bobrovsky, I mean, it's without a good goalie back there against the Oilers. Yikes. So, I mean, hats off to Bill Zito for signing that big contract, and hats off to Sergei Bobrovsky. He's taken that series MVP. My series ghost, I know I already mentioned it. It's going to be Leon Draisaitl. I mean, you go from scoring 41 goals this past year, 5 out of the 6 past seasons, he's had 100 points too. And he had 0 goals, 3 assists all series of the Stanley Cup final. So he went completely ghost mode, was not there, did not look like the same player, which, yeah, I know he had a little bit of injuries. All these players are playing with injuries, though.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he just did not look like the same player. And I know he's kind of like a bulkier player, hard to knock off the puck, but he was not there. So, I mean, I know you said that's your same ghost, but anything else to add on that?
Yeah. I mean, I think the injury thing is a good point. And like, you know, I think this is what happened to Florida last year too, was the crazy amount of injuries. And like you said, I mean, injuries are part of the game, and that's why it makes this Stanley Cup the hardest trophy to win in all sports. And I stand by that. These players play through anything and everything. And it's just incredible to watch sometimes, where you hear and you're like, oh my God, yeah, he's hurt. He's got a broken finger, or like what McDavid had something that requires surgery. I forget what part of his body, but I mean, McDavid, like, that's another point. It's like, well, McDavid was injured and he still leads the playoffs in all sports. So
broke records too. So
broke records. Yeah. So the injury thing, like it happens. And yeah, it sucks to affect teams, but he's got to be the series ghost. You know, we said it from the beginning. He needs to have a series. McDavid needs to have a series, and the other 3 or 4 people that they really only have on their team. And they didn't. And that's why they lost. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. Well,
congrats to the Panthers.
Up. Yeah. Congrats to the Panthers. You know, hard fought also to the Edmonton Oilers to come back. All jokes aside, like, serious respect to all them. Fans, don't worry about it. I don't even know you guys watch this podcast. I doubt you would. I don't know why, as a Edmonton Oilers fan, that you would listen to this podcast. But if you are, congrats. You still had a hard-fought series. You guys will be back. Don't worry. Don't stress.
Yeah.
But we're going to move into some hockey news that we got over the week.
That's the end of the season, though, which is crazy. So this is the beginning of next season.
Yes.
Basically.
Beginning of next season. That's crazy.
Yeah. Say that. Yeah.
Yep. This is our first season, just came to a wraps after that talk, which is crazy. Actually, we're going to talk about the awards a little bit, so maybe not yet. But yeah. On to next season. We're here. Let's get into it. Hockey Hall of Fame 2024 class has been announced. Who are those players, Galli?
So we got Pavel Datsyuk, Jeremy Roenick, Shea Weber, questionable, Natalie Darwitz, Chrissy Wendell-Pohl, David Poyle, and Colin Campbell. Just starting off with this list of 7 players, 5 players, and 2 builders is what they call them. Pavel Datsyuk, I mean, 4-time Lady Byng winner, 2 Stanley Cups, I think, to his name. He's in the Triple Gold Club, 918 points in 953 games played, 3-time Selke winner. I mean, he was good defensively. He was good offensively. This player was freaking nasty. He probably would have a lot more points if he didn't play in the KHL for 260 something games. So hats off to him. I mean, fucking so dirty. And then Jeremy Roenick too. I mean, he was one of the best American hockey players ever to live. And I mean, 1,300 games. That's a lot of games. And 1,216 points in the NHL to say for it. No Stanley Cups, which I think is kind of crazy. I mean, he did get a silver medal in the 2002 Olympics, but damn, I know he went to some Stanley Cup finals, but it's tough. He never won a Stanley Cup. But I mean, off of those two players, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Pavel Datsyuk, I'm surprised it's taken this long. I don't know when he retired. I feel like it was pretty long ago. But I mean, even Jeremy Roenick too. Pavel Datsyuk's a clear-cut, obviously Hall of Famer, and I think Jeremy Roenick is too. Yeah, he never won a cup, but I got to watch him playing on the Sharks. I'm actually, when he scored his career 500th goal, if you go watch that game, and he has an interview after the game, I'm featured in that video as a kid at the Shark Tank. It like pans to me and my dad. So if you go watch that goal of his 500th career goal, you can find me. I'm in a little Sharky hat. The thing, I don't know the timestamp, but yeah, Jeremy Roenick was super fun to watch as a Shark. Kind of a crazy guy I've heard stories of.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's had some
his Spin
Chicklets.
Yeah, his Spin Chicklets podcast is one of the best hockey podcasts I've ever listened to. He's a character.
Yep.
I mean, Pavel Datsyuk, though, I mean, I feel like he almost changed the game. His dangles. I mean, he was so filthy.
He definitely.
I mean, he literally he has a freaking move named after him. I mean,
he does.
Literally, like the Datsyuk in the shootouts. I mean, he was just. I feel like he took shootouts to another level too. Maybe him and Patrick Kane. I'd give it to Patrick Kane too. Those are both filthy, like just puck handlers. But then Shea Weber did also make it in, which I think is a little bit of questionable. I mean, I know Shea Weber was good. He has 2 times Olympic gold, World Cup gold, World Championship gold, and he's a 3-time Norris finalist. But he did get in over some other players, which I was kind of like, I feel like I probably would have given it to them. But I don't know. What's your thoughts on this pick? I'm pulling up the players of who they were. I saw a list of them and I was like, damn.
Shea Weber is interesting. I think he is deserving of a Hall of Fame spot. I just don't know if the 2024 class is his spot that he deserves it at. I mean, he's an Olympic gold champion, World Cup gold champion, like you said. And he won the Norris 3 times. Like, you can't leave him off. I think it's more of a timing thing, if anything. The timing's a little weird. Do you know, have you pulled that up yet? Who was left off?
Yeah, so, I mean, just seeing the players that are left off, I think this player behind me, Theo Fleury, I think he's past his expiration date for making in the Hall of Fame. He totally should have been, though. He had such an incredible career. I think he's over like 1,100 points, I want to say. I mean, he was the Flames' best player for a lot of the 90s. But some of the players that got snubbed, Rod Brindamore, Henrik Zetterberg, Alexander Melgini, who I think I'm butchering his name, but he was like one of the first Russian players to come over to the NHL, and he lit it up when he was on the Sabres. And I think that's totally deserving of a spot. Sergei Gonchar, another big name, Ryan Miller, Pekka Rinne, Keith Tkachuk, Rick Nash, Curtis Joseph, Patrick Elias. I mean, out of all of these players, though, which shout out Puck Empire for this list. I was like, this is pretty good list when I saw it. But I mean, Henrik Zetterberg, Mulginley, and Brindamore, even Patrick Marleau too. I feel like
these guys will get their time though, right?
Yeah, they should get their time. I mean, with Shea Weber, I think it's interesting too because he's still under an NHL contract with the Utah Hockey Club, which
that is insane.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But I mean, no disrespect to him. He was an incredible player when he was, in his prime, and very good defenseman. I feel like he probably should have won the Norris one of those years. And I mean, he was good for Team Canada on the international stage. So shout out all 3 of those players. The Other players I don't know too much about because I just don't follow women's hockey. I have heard of Natalie Darwitz before. She was pretty good in the Olympics. She had 15 games played. I think she was in 3 different Olympics. Had 25 points though in those 15 games played. So that's pretty incredible. 99 games played and 246 points in the college level, which is like damn. 2-time Olympic gold medalist or silver medalist. Sorry, she's also American too, so could never get past Team Canada.
Yep.
3-time World Championship gold. I think she's probably one of the greatest American hockey players. Played in the 02, 06, and 2010 Olympics. And then Chrissy Wendell Pohl, I know she was the captain for Team USA for a couple Olympics. Kind of a interesting pick here. I mean, I think they're trying to be more, I don't know, to get canceled, more diverse with their picks of women's and men's hockey.
Yeah, I think they have to start.
Yeah, so, but I mean, 10 games played, 10 points in the Olympic Games. I think she has a silver medal. So, I mean, props to all of these players. I think they're all deserving. Definitely some snubs. We'll see. And then David Poyle. I mean, just to cap this off, I'm on a roll. I mean, do you have anything to say about
keep going,
the two, Natalie or Chrissy?
I've never watched them. I'm sorry, Natalie. I'm sorry, Chrissy. Well deserving. Good job.
Yeah. I saw Natalie in the 2010 Olympics. I remember that. 2006, I don't remember. But David Poyle, which I think I'm saying his name, he's the winningest GM in NHL history. Preds GM from 1997, which I think that's when they became a team, to 2017. Sorry, I got that wrong on my notes. I don't know why I said 2023. He's still with the franchise as like an advisor. So that's pretty incredible. And then Colin Campbell, I honestly don't know. I was trying to research more about this guy. I mean, props to him. He's like the NHL league office. I think he's the president right now and like the director of hockey operations. So obviously they're doing something right because the NHL is growing a lot. So hats off to those two builders. And I know he was the head coach for the Rangers in the 90s, but didn't really do shit. He had a Stanley Cup as assistant coach, but I mean, hats off to both those builders. I think David Poyle is definitely deserving of it. Most winning GM in NHL history. And then Colin Campbell. I mean, even him, I mean, for what the NHL has become since I think the lockout in 04-05 was kind of like a low point for the league. Since then, I mean, the NHL has been on a tear and really on the up and up. So, I mean, shout out to all this Hockey Hall of Fame, people, hockey players.
Good,
I mean, I think it's a good class. People, so
good class overall. I think Shea Weber's a little iffy. I think some players could have snuck in there, but a lot of those guys that are on that list that you read will get their time. Yeah. Because like Jeremy Roenick's been retired for a while now. Datsuk, same thing. So they'll get their time. But next up, we got some trades, multiple trades we've seen the last week or so. Last night, actually, this broke during Game 7, right before Game 7. Linus Ullmark has been traded to the Ottawa Senators for a 25th overall pick. Jonas Korpisalo. And who's the other player?
Something Kastelik.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Kastelik. We don't know your first name.
Yeah, sorry, buddy.
Forgot to put it on here. But I honestly think this is a good trade. What are your thoughts on this trade?
I talked to Anthony, resident Boston fan of Settle Down, and he's upset. He's furious.
Really?
Yeah. I think the dust needs to settle a little bit. I just don't know. Linus Ullmark won the Vezina last year. They're getting a 25th overall pick. Yes, he's a backup goalie. Technically, he didn't play in the playoffs. Swayman's a rock star. Good for him. But I feel like they could have gotten a little bit more out of it. But also nowadays, like with goalies and stuff like that, it's hard to leverage. It's hard to leverage that. A team like these other teams, they know that they have a sticky situation in Boston, and they're not going to give up a whole lot and be like, Ullmark's great, but we know that the cards are not in your hand. They're in our hand right now. We get to play these cards. And if you don't want to agree to this, then you can fuck off and we'll find another goalie. Goalies are tough too. You don't know how they're going to perform with your team. So I don't know. Do you have any thoughts before I give my grade?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good trade for both teams. I do know Ullmark. I think Ullmark and Swayman both wanted that starting position more solidified rather than going back to back, which I know Boston fans love talking about that strategy.
Yeah.
But obviously hasn't panned out too well. But
Doesn't work in the playoffs.
I feel like they got a decent haul. I think Korpisalo is going to be a good backup for Swayman. And I mean, somewhat of a backup. I mean, he's been a starting goalie for the past 5-6 years. They also get that 25th overall pick, which is decent. But I mean, I think this could make, if Ullmark works out in Ottawa, which I feel like a lot of players go to Ottawa and do not work out, whether it's goalies, whether it's forwards, whether it's defense.
Yeah,
I mean, just looking at Ottawa Senators' depth right now, I mean, they have a pretty decent team, not going to lie. I mean, they have a good defense. They got Jake Sanderson, which shout out, he's from Montana. Freaking sick.
Oh, no way.
He's gonna be nasty next year. He's only 21 years old. They got Artem Zub, which he's Eric Brandstrom, another very young 24-year-old right-handed defenseman. Thomas Chabot. Fuck, I feel like I'm messing that name up.
I think.
Yeah, Chabot. They got Jacob Chychrun, which who knows if he's gonna get traded too. And then Bernard Docker too. So I mean, I feel like they have a pretty good defensive core, and then obviously they got Brady Tkachuk, Stützle, Drake Batherson, Shane Pinto, even Giroux's in there, Josh Norris. So I mean, they have a decent team. I think their goaltending is kind of like been the downfall for them. So I feel like if Ullmark works out, he is 30 years old. So that is interesting. Also, he's going to be a UFA next season. So I feel like the Senators are kind of like, in a way, they are in win mode next season. Like I think the Sens might blow it up if they do not make the playoffs next year.
Yeah.
If they're not in a playoff spot or close to a playoff spot by the trade deadline, they're going to blow it up. And I wouldn't be surprised if Brady Tkachuk leaves. I think they're going to hold on to Stützle. But yeah, man, I mean, this is kind of a do or die situation. This is their window right now that they're kind of stepping into. And I think they're gambling on Ullmark to be that guy for them because Korpisalo obviously wasn't. But yeah, let's get into trade grades. What would you give the Senators for this?
Senators, you guys get an A+ for this trade. This is a great trade for them. I think they, Ullmark may not work out, but look what happened with Bob. Like, it's tough. Like, you never really know with these goalies. But to only give up a first round pick at the 25 spot, which I don't think is their pick, I'm assuming. Probably someone else's. I don't know if they have a first round pick. We'll see on Friday. Yeah, to give up Jonas Korpisalo, like, you're not really throwing away too much. That was your starting goalie, and you just got a rock star in net. You have to hope that he wants to sign with you. That's the only way this trade could go downhill is if he doesn't want to sign with them.
100%.
For Boston, I'm going to give you guys a B, solid B. I don't think it was a bad, horrible trade. I think could have gotten a little bit more out of Ullmark. But obviously, I think at the same time, they know that they're not going to be able to keep him after next season with the team that they have. They're not going to be able to keep both of those goalies. And as much as they love it, and honestly, I'm kind of sad too. I liked watching them, both Swayman and Ullmark, just be the tandem that they are. They had great chemistry together, and it's kind of sad to see them split up. But for Ullmark, I think it's a good move, and we'll see if the Ottawa Senators can get out of the bottom of the Atlantic because they had a rough year last year. So hopefully this move will turn around for them. I want to see Brady have some success before he follows his brother's footsteps and goes to the USA and Canada loses out on another Tkachuk. So we will see. But what are your grades for them?
See, with Ullmark, I feel like that is, and the Sens do have the 7th overall pick for this upcoming draft. So
exactly, yeah,
that is something. But please don't pick TJ Ginla. I swear to God. Yeah, I mean, I think that the Sens, I'd give him like an A- just because there is that kind of iffy. Is he going to resign next year? I feel like maybe they sign him in the offseason, and I feel like then I'd probably bump it up to an A or A plus. For Boston, I mean, I'm going to give it a B because I feel like they kind of had their hands tied. They were going to
Yeah.
have to move Ullmark. I feel like they got a decent pull for him, and Korpisalo I think he just kind of had a couple off years. I feel like he's going to be in a better place in Boston, kind of. I mean, I know their fan base is pretty vicious, but I do think that he still has some good years in him, especially if he's kind of the second option in Boston too. And then Swayman's going to be getting that starting position. So we're going to see how Boston does. But yeah, I'd give it a B for right now.
Yeah.
But I know we're going to talk about Arizona, but we can keep on the trade.
Yeah. Let's talk about trade real quick. Yeah. Okay. The Sharks. Money Mike Greer. He's making the moves. I honestly love him as a GM so far. He's done a great job. We'll see if it pans out. But Sharks acquired Jake Wallman, the Gritty King, from the Detroit Red Wings, and also a 2024 second-round pick for future considerations. So what those future considerations are, I don't know. But that means the Sharks have 2 first-round picks this year, the pick number 1 and pick 14. They have 3 second-round picks this year. They have a 3rd round, a 4th round, 2 5ths, and a 7th. So we'll see how this all plays out, what happens out of it, but we're set up in a good spot.
Yeah.
And to give away future considerations, I mean, it's always weird with those future considerations, but Jake Wallman's a solid defender. And I saw some videos from him, and he's a funny guy, so I'm excited for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a good, solid little move around. You know, we had some trades last week too. So I think we're moving in the right direction, slowly but surely. And we're going to get a hell of a player on Friday. So I'm excited. What do you think about this trade, though?
Yeah, I feel like he's decent. I mean, he had 21 points last year, 18 points the year before. Obviously, he did that gritty that everyone freaking hockey world has seen. Yeah. So he's definitely got some character, which I think will be good for kind of these younger players because he's 28. I mean, he's somewhat of a veteran in the NHL. So I think that the Sharks definitely won this trade. I mean, by far. The fact that they got a 2nd round pick too out of this is pretty crazy. Yeah. Future considerations, who knows what the hell that means? It's always like up in the air. But yeah, I mean, shout out the GM for the Sharks. I mean, he's been building this. He's been doing this rebuild in an interesting way. We're gonna see if it pans out. But I mean, I'm gonna give the Sharks probably an A.
Yeah,
maybe A. I'll probably give them an A-.
We don't know what the future stuff.
They are eating a little bit of cap on this, but I'm gonna give the Wings. I mean, they kind of had their hands tied, but I'd give them like a B. I'll just be neutral here.
Yeah, it's tough to really say and give them a grade because we don't even know what the give back is.
Yeah, I mean, the Wings are trying to open up some cap space, but it's tough. I mean, honestly, I'm going to rank that down to a C because they gave away a 2nd round draft pick just like that. So
yeah,
I feel like they could have maybe retained some cap and maybe sent them somewhere else. But yeah, I mean, that's my thoughts on that. What's your grade for this?
Sharks, I'll give them an A. I don't know what those future considerations are. So I think also for the Sharks and the cap, we have a lot of cap space freed up. We need to hit the floor. That's why we got Barclay Goodrow and also Jake Wallman. I'm assuming it's probably just a cap thing too. So I think it's looking good. Yeah, I'd give the Sharks an A, and I'll ride with you and give the Red Wings a C. Or just a no contest. I don't even know. Once we find out these future considerations, I guess we can give a grade, but no idea. But yeah. All right. Arizona. Coyote fans all around.
This is the nail in the coffin.
Nail in the coffin. Land auction has been canceled by the state of Arizona. And near future NHL franchise, fans are crushed.
Yeah. I mean, I know the NHL, I think they took all the names and trademarks and stuff. So I think they'll probably seek out some new ownership. Of knowing Gary Bettman and his love for Arizona hockey, they probably will end up doing that. But honestly, fuck Alex Morello. I hate this guy. This guy is like on the same level as the A's owner, which I'm not an A's fan or anything, but to see what they do to their fans and treat them, unbelievable, which I'll give a little bit more leniency to Alex Morello. Before this point I'm going to bring up, because I mean, Arizona is not a very big hockey market. They don't have a history. I think he could have done some things differently, and especially the way it kind of all the cards folded at the end definitely would have been differently. It's interesting that he was like crying in the press conference and all this and made hundreds of millions of dollars off the sale of the franchise. I think it's a tough place to have an NHL franchise. And I think whoever does own the franchise, if that happens in the future, is going to have to take a way different route. And hopefully it's successful. Who knows if it will ever be a thing. But the thing that I was shocked about, which came out today, was he still owns the Tucson Roadrunners, which is, they do really well in the AHL in terms of attendance. And they're also a pretty decent team because Arizona's dog shit all the time and gets good draft picks playing in the AHL.
Yeah.
But he announced that they're moving to Reno, Nevada in 2026, which I think this is interesting because Reno area just got an ECHL team, which is Lake Tahoe. I mean, similar area. So that kind of crushes Lake Tahoe out of any sort of pull from Reno fans. But not only that, I mean, for him to sell the Coyotes and then go after their only other professional hockey team. Yeah. I mean, that's tough. I'm sure the Sun Devils are happy though. They're the only damn team left. But man, when he did that today, when I heard about that today, I was like, that's fucking ridiculous, man. I mean, maybe give it a little bit, but for that to happen, and it's tough. And there's been hockey teams in Reno and they don't really pan out. So I don't necessarily know what his thought process was behind that. I'm sure it was a money move, but yeah, man, I feel bad for Coyotes fans out there, Arizona sports fans, the few Coyotes fans that are out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, I'm not a fan of the old Coyotes owner. I feel like he should go into witness protection or something, because I think the whole hockey world kind of hates him.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I feel for Coyotes fans, like, to get your team ripped out like that. And we've talked about this before, but the fashion that it happened to so quick, these fans that didn't even know if their team was going to be here or not next year. Like, even our friend Tyler, fellow settle down mate, he went to his last game not knowing it. Went to his last Arizona Coyotes games not knowing it. And they could be back, like you said, with the NHL. I'm sure Gary Bettman's going to bring him back, but I feel like it's going to take some time. They had the 5-year window. I think it's going to be more than that now. And they're going to obviously come in as an expansion team, but heartbreaking stuff. And like you said, I think their owner just milked all the money out and just kind of gave up and was like, I'm done.
Watch the last thing I'll say on this is watch Gary Bettman relocate the Winnipeg Jets to Arizona.
Oh my God.
Again. We'll see it. Yeah. We'll see it happen again.
That would be crazy.
No, knock on wood. I'd be so pissed. I think the city of Winnipeg would declare war on the NHL offices.
Yeah. If they haven't already on me, I'm sure they will on them. All right. We're going to get into the NHL Awards predictions here. We got the awards coming up on Thursday. The fellas might be there, might be we're not sure yet. Tickets aren't, affordable right now. So we're going to wait, keep an eye on the floor and see if you guys know anyone that's giving away free NHL draft tickets, or not draft, NHL Awards tickets. Hit us up. But I doubt it, but just in case. So we're going to look at actually our predictions from the beginning of the season and see how they've panned out, all the way from winning the cup all the way down to the Vezina. So Galli, if you want to look back on yourself 39 episodes ago, What were you saying 39 weeks ago?
Well, I mean, some of the division, which I think we went over the division winners. I think
Yes,
in a couple episodes back.
Before playoffs, yeah.
Which I had some ridiculous. I said the fucking Flames are going to win the Pacific, which is ridiculous. So I did say the Stars were going to win the Cup, which I think that was close. I honestly think if it was Stars Panthers, I don't think the Stars win, but it would be a good series. Could be maybe a toss up, especially if they beat the Oilers. So I think that one was a little bit close. The Hart Memorial Trophy, which is the MVP, I said that goes to McKinnon, which fingers crossed. I hope he gets it this year. I think he deserves it this year. I feel like any other year, I don't know if he's gonna win it. So I'm happy with that pick, that prediction. The Norris Trophy, which goes to the best defenseman, is Rasmus Dahlin, which he had a good year. He had like 59 points, but nowhere near Quinn Hughes or Cale Makar. So kind of a shitty pick, but I feel like maybe next year or another year, he's definitely in that discussion. For the Calder Trophy, I think we both have Bedard. So I think that's a lock. So happy with that. Rocket Richard said to Austin Matthews, which
lock.
Obviously he won that lock. Which that's not going to be announced for the award ceremony. And then my Vezina pick was...
Wait, really?
Well, I think it will, but it's already decided, you know.
Oh, you're right. Yes,
yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, it's not like they're announcing it at the awards.
Yeah,
I mean, he'll probably go up on stage and be Austin Matthews, freaking iced out, $100,000 suit, $13 million contract, fucking looking all snazzy. But which I feel like we gotta make our way to the awards. I mean,
I feel like it's, if anything, we'll be at the red.
Yeah. But my Vezina pick was Jacob Markstrom, which he's not even on the Calgary Flames anymore, which was a fucking horrible pick.
Yeah.
He had a pretty good year for how bad the Flames were. I'll give it to him on that. But shit, man, not near as, you know, Bobrovsky, Demko, or Hellbuck. But yeah, who are your picks?
Yeah, so
I think out of those predictions for the trophies, at least, I think I got half of them right, though, which I'm happy about that. So
yeah, I think besides the Norris and the Vezina, you got all the finalists in there.
Yeah,
and the two winners. Yeah, so I think it was a good pick. The Stars winning the Cup is a good pick too. You know, they were somehow lost that game against the Oilers, the last one, but I picked the Oilers to win the Stanley Cup. Beginning of the season, I said it was going to be Oilers and Maple Leafs, and then everyone clowned on me, saying that I was dumb, that the Oilers were going to, not everyone, but mainly all of our friends, saying that the Oilers were going to do anything, even though they were at the bottom of the league when we made that award show live stream. But, I mean, they were pretty close. Kind of wish I picked the Panthers way earlier. I didn't really have too many high hopes for the Panthers until the season started and I started watching them. I was like, okay, could happen again. But yeah, I said the Oilers were going to win the Cup. Hart was going to go to McDavid, which is still very possible, especially after this playoff run. I think he'd honestly be really depressed if he won the Hart. He'd walk up there probably not very excited to accept that award. Just knowing him, he's not a personal accolade kind of guy. He wants to win the Stanley Cup, which I think all these guys want to, obviously, but he's won a fair share of hardware, and I don't think he really cares. So I think that one's still up in the air. Norris Makar, he's a finalist. I don't think he's going to get it, though. I think that's going to Quinn Hughes. And then the Calder, I had Connor Bedard. I feel like that was a pretty easy lock. Got a little scared, though, when he was injured for a while. We weren't sure if that was going to play out, but it did. And I'm like 99.9% sure he's going to win the Calder. Rocket Matthews as well. And, 69 goals. Awesome. And then the Vezina, I had Jake Ottinger. He did not finish in the finalists for it, but he had a good season. I think Hellebuck's going to win that out of anyone.
Yeah. So let's get into our predictions. So who you got for the Calder? I know we both already said, and I think it's kind of apparent.
Yep. Calder Bedard.
It's gonna be.
We got to go with him.
Yeah, it's gonna be Bedard. Who do you got for the Hart though?
See, I don't know that my McDavid pick is going to stand. Obviously, he's a finalist, but I want to see McKinnon. I just feel like Kucherov, with the amazing season he had, is going to get it.
So are you going with Kucherov then?
Yes, I'm going to go with Kucherov. Okay. I think the debate with, trying to define what an MVP is so tough.
Yeah.
Like, who realistically is most valuable to their team? I think Connor McDavid is most valuable to their team. I also think Austin Matthews is most valuable to his team. So that MVP title is just so tough to determine. But obviously there's enough voters that's how they determine it. So totally fair. But are you going to stick with McKinnon?
I'm going to stick with McKinnon. I think this is his year. I feel like this is the best year he's had. Yeah. I feel like he was pretty damn dominant. Was definitely the best player on the Avs. So I'm going to stick with McKinnon. For Norris, we got Quinn Hughes, Roman Josi, Cale Makar. I'm going to have to go with Quinn Hughes. I think he had the most points, and he hasn't. I don't think he's won a Norris yet either. I could be wrong about that. I don't think he has. But I think that's kind of a lock in my opinion. Who you got for the Norris though?
Yeah, I got Quinn Hughes as well. He had a great season. I kind of would have liked him to beat the Oilers and have his season keep going past the second round. But he had a great regular season, and I don't really remember. The playoffs are so long, I forget that. Like, I don't even. Last time Quinn Hughes played, it was over like a month and a half ago. But he had a great regular season, so good for him. And I'm excited to watch him get that trophy, walk up on the stage. I think that's pretty much a lock. I mean, Roman Josi, Cale Makar, you could give it to, but
Quinn Hughes, I mean, Cale Makar was 2 points away, I mean.
Yeah, Cale Makar's another one. That was my pick, but I'm gonna stick with Quinn though.
He did have 5 less games played. I mean, shit, I could go to Makar. I don't think Roman Josi necessarily gets it.
No.
But I'm gonna stick with Quinn Hughes for sure.
Yeah, I think with the breakout season he had was kind of just it's gonna be given to him. But I could see NHL wanting Makar to have that cup or that trophy too. So I don't know. Ted Lindsay Award. Who you got? Our finalists, we got Kucherov, McKinnon, and Matthews. Is that correct?
So I think that Austin Matthews is going to win this one. I think this is voted on by the players. I think just with the amount of goals he scored, 69 goals. Yeah. I feel like you got to give it to him. I mean, he was incredible. I know some games and some stretches he wasn't the best, but when he was scoring, holy shit, it was like, I mean, like I said, Austin Matthews, anytime goal, lock.
Yeah.
Fucking lock. So I'm saying this one's going to go to Austin Matthews. I feel like Kucherov might get this one too, but I'm going to stick with Matthews. Who you got for this one, though?
I like Matthews for that pick if it's voted by the players. Obviously, what he did was record-breaking in the 21st century and the salary cap era. I could also see Kucherov getting it with the season he had. I could also see McKinnon. Like, I don't know. I'm going to stick with Matthews, though. That one makes the most sense to me. Yeah. With the season that he had and the records he broke. I'm going to give it to Mr. AM34.
Definitely.
All right. The Vezina Trophy. This one.
Yeah, who you got for this?
There's some conversation
for regular season
Demko.
Too.
It is, yes. There's some conversation for Bob and Demko, but Hellebuyck had a crazy regular season. I know that their playoff success did not pan out, and he played like Swiss cheese. But I think if we're looking at it at the regular season, I think that man deserves that Vezina.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to go with Connor Hellebuyck too. I think he was just lights out regular season. I feel like a lot of people thought he was going to be way better of a goalie, especially in the playoffs, which was tough. It didn't turn out for him. And I don't think he has a Vezina yet. I'm just searching that up. I don't think he necessarily does. Yeah. Oh, he does have a Vezina.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I
He
think.
does have a
When did he
Vezina
win?
in 2020. So, but he did win the William Jennings Award this year. So I think he's going to sweep the goalies awards.
Yeah.
But so we both got Hellebuck. So hells yeah.
We did. Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna see how that comes true. Maybe one day we'll have a vote of our own from the media. Probably not, but it'd be sick. But honestly, if they let us in that, ooh, man, that'd be crazy. I don't know. I'd want to be truthful, but also at the same time, I'd probably be a little biased. I don't know. I'm not one to be unbiased. It's tough for me to be unbiased because I love this game so much and I have so many emotions. So, but that wraps that up. We're going to jump into the rest of our mock draft. If you've been listening to the past 2 weeks, we've been doing these 1 through 10. Then we did 11 through 20, and now we're doing 21 through 32 to wrap up the first round predictions. We're not going to get too deep into it because these guys are a lot harder to predict. Yeah. This is tough. They do not have all the eyes. We're not the scouts. We don't have all these games watched from them. So it's really tough to pick. And also this late in the round, it's like it could be changed so much. So we're not going to both give it. We are both going to agree on this one solid list right here.
Yep. We put it together.
And we're going to see how this all pans out. When on Friday, we're going to be at the Sphere, which, Galli, I don't know if you saw this, but they leaked a photo of what the inside of the Sphere is going to look like. And I might have a stroke because, holy crap, a lot of colors. It's
going to be sick, though. I'm excited. Yeah. It looks really sick, and shout out the Sphere. I mean, dude, whoever's doing the freaking motion graphics and all that stuff for the Sphere, that's a pretty badass job.
Yeah.
But, yes, let's just get into it. I know this is difficult because I feel like a lot of second round players could be going in the first, especially at the end of the first. So yeah, this is and especially if some players fall into the bottom, 11 picks. But yeah, starting off with the Kings, I got a left-handed defenseman from Norway, which I think would be the first Norwegian player drafted in the first round. His name's I'm gonna butcher this. Stean. I don't even know. Stean.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Stean Solberg. He's a left-handed defenseman. Has 50 points in 42 games played in the second, the second level of Sweden. Still needs a lot of work done, but he's got a high ceiling. They also need a left-handed defenseman. I think next year he's going to be playing in the SHL, and which is the top league of Sweden. I don't know. I mean, some of these European players, it's like, who knows what's going to happen, where they're going to exactly play at next year, just because their systems are a little bit different there. But that's who I got for the Kings. For the Predators, we got, because we're doing these both. For the Predators,
Galli did all this. I didn't do anything. So this is
we did it. Sean did some research too.
Yeah.
But for the Predators, 22nd pick, we got Jet Luchenko. He had 74 points, 68 games played with the OHL. Predators need some centers, and I forgot to add that point. The Kings need some left-handed defensemen, so I think Solberg is going to be the best left-handed defenseman available. Luchenko, I feel like 74 points, 68 games. No AHL, I mean, that's nothing to bat an eye at. They also need centers. For the Leafs, I think the Leafs are kind of going to go a little bit off the charts here. I think that they are pretty strong on their left wings right now, but this player could turn into more of a project player, especially because he's coming from Russia. He had a 1.23 points per game in the Russian juniors. He's a left wing. Igor Surin. I don't know if that's pronounced his name. Then at the 24th pick for the Avalanche, we got Michael Branzig Nygaard, right winger from Sweden, plays for Mora IF in the SHL. He's got 18 points in 41 games played, second level Swedish league. He also dominated Swedish juniors. He is a power forward too, and I just feel like he would be a good he just sounds like a player that's going to be on the Avalanche. And I know that's a stupid reason. Just we're going to keep ripping it with it.
Yep.
For the Senators, they got this trade from Boston, and the trade we talked about. It's going to go to Charlie Ehrlich. He's a defenseman from the Brandon Wheat Kings. I think the Sens need a little bit more right-handed defensemen. They're kind of lacking in that department. Canadians, 26th pick. They're going to pick Cole Baudouin, 62 points, 67 games. He is a gritty, big center, and he could play offensive D. Like we said, we haven't been watching these players all season, so we're kind of watching some other people's notes, especially for these later picks. Carolina Hurricanes, EJ Emery, he's a right-handed defenseman. He's got a high ceiling. He's 6'3", committed to UND. He had some low offensive numbers this past year. I think he played for the national development team in the USHL. Going to UND, he could develop into something that's good. I feel like the Hurricanes are pretty good with their forward depth right now, so I think they're going to go with a defenseman. Number 28, Calgary Flames. Let's go. We got this pick from Vancouver in the Elias Lindholm trade. I think they're going to pick Andrew Basha. And I researched this a little bit more just because this is the 28th pick. This is my team. He's a left winger and center, native of Calgary. So he's not going to leave. Like we know some players left and won a Stanley Cup. We got 85 points, 30 game goals last year. Believe he was in the WHL. I think so. A little unsure of what team. So pardon me for anyone listening. Number 29th pick, we got the Dallas Stars. They're going to pick Ryder Ritchie. Had 44 points in 47 games played. I know he's been talked about potentially falling into the top 20. Some of these into the top 22. So just FYI. Then we're rounding out to the last three picks. I know I'm on a fucking ramble right now. But Rangers are at 30. I think they're going to pick Nikita Artemanov. He's a left winger. He has 23 points in the KHL, which is pretty impressive. He played for Nizhny Novgorod. 23 points as a 19-year-old is pretty impressive. I feel like the Rangers do have a great team right now, so they could take on a player with a little bit longer of a development, especially if he pans out. Anaheim has this pick from Edmonton. I'm a little unsure of where this trade's from, so no one kill me for that. But I think they're going to pick Marek Vanacker, left wing for the Brantford Bulldogs in the OHL. He's got 82 points. They're a little bit low on left wingers, but I feel like this player especially has some time to develop. And then number 32, this player is very interesting. This pick's Philadelphia. They obviously have this from Florida. Dean
was that from the Bob trade? Or what was that from?
I'm a little unsure of where that was from too. So that's two picks in a row.
Yager?
No,
he wasn't. No, I don't know. I can look it up. Here, you keep talking.
Dean Letrano. He's a center for St. Andrews College in U18 AAA, which I know sometimes players get drafted out of AAA or high school.
Crazy. Yeah.
He's 6'7" though, which is like, damn. He's committed to Boston College. He had 127 points in AAA. So this guy could turn into something. He's kind of like a Wembanyama of this draft. Don't quote me on this. Who knows? This guy could not turn into anything, but that's some pretty big height. Definitely like 7 inches taller than me. So yeah. So where did this pick come from? Do you know?
It's not coming up right away. I don't want to look too long. I don't know. We'll figure it out. If you guys know in the comments, let us know. You guys hockey buffs. Sorry, we're not perfect on that, but yeah. We'll see. I mean, I think these, like we said, those later rounds are tougher to gauge and stuff. And, a lot of these guys don't have a super big draft profile that we've been following all year, like some of the other guys from 1 to 10 and even like 10 to 20. But honestly, I'm very excited for Friday. I think it's a good time.
Oh, yeah.
I've went to Nashville where the draft was last year. I didn't go into the draft though, but this year will be different with you. And I'm very excited. I think it's
Dude,
going to
I'm
be
so stoked.
a cool cap off to the amazing year we had as we wrap up this episode. This is the final episode of the season. And we're going to do a podcast after the draft, kind of wrap up anything. If we have any crazy stories, maybe get an interview with the player. We don't know yet. But we are super excited to be there and provide some good content for you guys. Maybe some cool stories, some funny stories, and just have a time in Vegas.
We're gonna have a time in Vegas. I'm stoked.
Yeah.
And hopefully we go to the awards. If not, we'll be around and we're gonna
see these players.
We're gonna have a sick weekend.
See these players.
Stoked.
Yes.
It's gonna be a long drive down there. In the 06 Ford Focus, but yeah, man, it's gonna be a kick-ass time. I'm stoked. I've never been to a draft, and this is kind of like the last one that's exactly in person. I'm sure some players in the future will be there in person, but not all of them will be, especially some of these European players. So, yeah, man, I'm stoked for this weekend. It's gonna be a kick-ass weekend, and hopefully I win some money too, because you know we're in Sin City.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
We'll be betting on some euros, dude.
Yeah. As for the offseason, what that looks like for us, for you guys that you know, just as listeners, me and Galli still need to talk a little bit more about the actual game plan. I'm thinking like July, especially, probably going to do every other week, just with some of the slow news. Obviously, I mean, we're still going to have a crazy next couple of weeks because we're going to have to recap the draft, and then free agency starts, and we're going to get some crazy signings, I'm sure. So season's not quite over yet for us, but we want to thank all you guys for listening all season long. Whether you started this episode, whether you started last episode, whether you started episode 1, we're thankful for you guys. This is why we do it. We just get to talk hockey all day. We do a lot of stuff on the back end, and that's why I want to plug to you guys and have us go follow us on Instagram. Make sure you're subscribed to us and everything so you don't miss another video. Also, our Patreon. I know I mentioned it last episode, but if you go into that, you pay $2 a month, help us out on the back end in terms for all the software we use, everything like that. Your $2 goes a long way. You're going to be entered in a giveaway for a free jersey, but you have to join by the end of July 31st. So you got a month to do it. It would really help us out. And also, guess what? If not, we totally get it. And we're happy to have you on right here. If you're interested, the link to the Patreon's down below. You can see all the stuff that it comes with, all the extra stuff you're going to get. And that's the end of my sales pitch. And, I can't say enough how much fun this was this season. And I'm looking forward to the next season as well. We're going to keep chugging. We're going to try to get some interviews done in the off season too. So if you're a player and you want to come on, you're listening to us for whatever reason, hit us up. We'll definitely have you on. If you know any players or know anyone that you would suggest, if you're a friend of them and you're like, I'd love for them to be on this, let us know. We have some people that we want lined up as well that we're going to be interviewing. One that's really big that we haven't told you guys at all yet. Still in the works, but there's one coming soon. And that's our plan for the offseason. A lot of interviews and then just catching up on the news around the league, because the hockey news cycle is year round. So we're not going to be going ghost at the end, but we might be slowing down a bit. So with that, everyone, I hope you guys enjoyed this season as much as we did, whether your team was last like the Sharks or whether your team was the Florida Panthers and you guys just won the cup. If you're an Edmonton Oilers fan, I don't have much to say to you, but anyone else and everyone, I think Galli and I had a great time. And I'm repeating myself, but I am thankful for everyone that's clicked on a video, past, present, and future. So with that, do you have anything else, Galli, before we wrap up?
No, thank you for everyone listening. I know we still got a lot of work to be done, and we're on the up and up, and we got some sick stuff coming up this summer, and I'm stoked for next year. And thank you for listening. For all our Canadian listeners out there, we love you guys. Don't take it to the heart that Sean said some things about Canada. I did. I want the cup to be in Canada. Obviously I'm a Calgary Flames fan, but I mean, besides that, I'm stoked for next season, stoked for the off season, and cheers everyone.
Yep. Cheers. We'll be doing a vlog too of the Vegas trip. So you guys will be in with us, which will be up on the YouTube a little bit after we come back, and I have time to rest and recuperate my body from this weekend. So we are very excited and can't thank you guys enough. Seriously, like this season was amazing. And we'll see you guys next week. And cap it off, go Sharks. That's all I got to say.
Go Flames.